What's going on, y'all? This is your boy DJ Arco.
And I am the queen, and you are tuned in to Boss Talk.
Today is Monday. We hope everybody had a good weekend with everything that's crazy going on out there
in this world.
Yeah, it's been a whole bunch of stuff in the news. Hope everyone's out there staying safe, staying encouraged, and hopefully some of you guys were able to get your roll on this weekend. I know we were able to on Sunday on our New Adult Nights, which again we tried to stream, but for some reason it just is not.
And the weather wasn't cooperating either.
Yeah, it's not cooperating. So, but we'll get it together for you guys, so don't worry. So
it's hurricane season.
Yes, it is.
Give us a minute. We're going to get it together.
Yes, it is. Before we get started with the Boss Talk today, we actually had a couple of birthdays.
We have some birthdays. Miss Connie the Scenario is celebrating her birthday today. Big 25.
Happy birthday.
And my cousin BJ turning 22 again. And Hadia is turning 15. I'm gonna let them be young today.
You know, it kind of sucks to have a birthday during this time of the year. With everything going on.
Well, you can Zoom a birthday, or you could drive by birthday. It depends on where you are. Some people are open and they can go out.
Yeah, it is true. That is true.
It depends on where you are.
It's true. All right, so we have a special guest with us today. We have one of the skaters from the skate community who we are going to have a conversation with, just get to know him a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of you, yes, some of you may know him already, and some of you may know him, but you may not know him. So that's why we do Boss Talk, so you guys can get to know them.
Nobody's business.
Right. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and introduce my man, Mr. Eric Alston is in the building. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing excellent with a capital E.
Excellent.
How are you?
Capital E.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Well, I'm amazing with a capital A.
Oh, here we go. Look, there's 24 more letters, y'all. Join in.
Hey.
Yeah.
There you go. So what's good with you, my man? How's everything going with you? Everything all right?
Yeah. And you know how a lot of times people say, I'm doing great under the circumstances or as best can be expected and things of that nature. Listen, when I say I'm doing excellent with a capital E, it's because I start out with gratitude. First of all, I'm on the correct side of the dirt. I'm in great health. My family's doing well.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, every day is an opportunity to live life at its fullest potential. And whether or not I actually achieve that objective is secondary to the quest to do so. So I read something by Earl Nightingale, and he said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So I strive to live full and die empty. So when the show closes, I don't want to leave any jacks on the table. For those of you that are younger, there's a game called Jacks where you put 12 jacks on the table and then throw a little ball up and try to scoop as many as you can before the ball, hits. And I'm scooping all 12 jacks daily. Yes.
There you go. Now. So that's you guys' gym for Monday.
That's right. And if you
learn how to play jacks.
Yeah, if you start the day out positive, you
that is true. Yeah. That is true. The whole day just goes better. Start off positive.
It goes better.
Appreciate that for helping the ones who are listening right now to start their day on a positive note. Yeah. So as always, we always want to start our interviews with our signature question, and that is pretty much, how long have you been roller skating?
I've been, it's funny. I'm one of those people. I have dates when certain things happen exactly and all the rest. And I actually started roller skating on November 13th, 1966, the day before my 4th birthday. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sunday afternoon, a family matinee at Empire Roller Rink. Yes.
All right now.
Yeah.
You're one of the original Empire OGs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It was called Empire Rollerdrome. They called Empire a roller skating center once it closed and reopened in a partnership with United States of America. But the original Empire was called Empire Rollerdrome. Yeah. And
so what were you rolling on when you went to the Rollerdrome? What kind of skates you have? Did you have the metal ones? Did you have the plastic ones? Or did you have regular skates?
The Pac-Mans?
To be truthful, they were rentals. My mother's a little backside to that story. My mother's mother passed away when she was about 2, and my uncle was a little 2 years younger than her, so he was months old. And back then, the you know, the father didn't raise the children alone. You went to the oldest female relative and they raised you. So my mother's oldest female relative who could take her in happened to be in New York. My mother was born in Virginia. And so they sent her to New York. And when her 4th birthday was approaching, Mom wanted to do something special for her because, like, oh, you know, your mother's not here, this, that. She didn't say that to my mother, but she told me the story. And Empire had just opened in 1941. It had just opened, so it was open a couple months or so. And she said, I know, I'll take her to this place, Empire. And she took my mother on her 4th birthday. And my mother took my older sister, who's 4 years older than me, on her 4th birthday. And she took me actually that Sunday, which was the day before my birthday, because my birthday is November 14th. So I was technically 3 years, 364 days old at my first roller skating session. And again, she took me because it just became the thing to do. And fast forward, my son will be 31 on July 29th. And for his 4th birthday, he was in Empire. And I have 2 daughters. They're 10 months apart, one February, one December, same woman, same year. Don't judge me. That's for the ladies out there. Because they do the math. Wait, you didn't wait. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, it's a week thing. But I took my, the oldest of the 2, her birthday is February 10th. We had a party for an Empire, and it closed that April 22nd. So, but the one whose birthday was in December was there. So I took both of my daughters when they were 4, you know, technically the year they turned 4. So yeah, it's a generational thing to be sure. So my first time was at Empire, and I did have rentals on. Yeah.
That's amazing that you kept the generational what do you call it, like aspect of it going. It was just so great that, and now hopefully your kids will do the same thing. Maybe not at Empire, but you know, somewhere else, and take their kids skating.
Exactly. You know, it's crazy you say that. My granddaughter will be 4 June 12th. My son, I took him, and I didn't want to like force skating on him. They say true humility is an accurate assessment of assets and liabilities. And I know who I am in the skate world. I know who I am in life. And I didn't really want to force my son into something where people be like, oh, your father this, your father that. So up until he was 12, I took him pretty much every year. And once he turned a teenager, my thing was, if you want to come, it's here or whatever. So when he turned 18, he was telling me, oh, I'm gonna show you old guys how this works. I was like, really? So he was like, so everybody that knows me, you know, I'm somewhat competitive. I would say somewhat, with tongue in cheek, firmly planted. Yeah. So I said to him, I said, really? So he said, yeah, I'm 18 now, I can come to all adults. I said, no, it don't work like that. See, because you're going to finish your education first, do all your necessary off-the-field items, and then you're free to come here as much as you want. So fast forward, my son, he has a master's degree, no criminal record, no debt, perfect credit, and he's a credit to his race, the community, the village that helped raise him, and his family, and all who come in contact with him say he's a great guy. And I agree, and I don't say it because of my son, I say it because it's true. But he picked up roller skating on his own after he acquired his master's, and he got with this skate crew. I'm gonna call them a skate crew, but there's really a group of guys I've known since they started, and I'll call them Boot Camp Corey. I'll call them out, and he got with us, in particular, Rel, the bigger guy, Abdul, and they kind of like the same height, around the same, you know, weight and stuff. And Abdul used to always tell him stories about how, you know, I was rough on him when he was young, learning. And so my son realized what he was in for. He said, you told your father that? Oh, so he said, help me get ready to skate with my father. So he really took to skating and grew a love of skating as an adult. And he currently skates every chance he gets. And I'm pretty sure he's going to take his daughter when she's 4. If he doesn't, and if he's listening, keep it.
But is he in New York though?
Yeah, he's in New York.
Because then, I mean, you guys aren't open yet, are you?
Well, it's open in Georgia. Here's the thing: there's outside space. This is the time you get creative. Listen, you come from. I'm like MacGyver. Where there's a will, there's a way. I've skated. Listen, as we get into this, look, I don't know if this is part of what you want to get to, but I'm going to tell you this: I've skated, and well, I just went to the Legends Ball, so we skated on the 31st floor, overlooking the Washington Monument. Yeah. I was on a cruise, and the captain found out that I was on there. Somebody on the ship that I met gave him, he caught wind that this is a renowned skater, and they cleared out the team disco so we could have our private skate session while the ship was sailing in the Mediterranean.
Nice.
Yeah. I have video too, by the way, because a lot of people are like, show me, don't tell me, because in Brooklyn we say, we can show you better than we can tell you, and West Missouri, the show me state. Well, I have video now, so but at the end of the day, look, I skated on a mountain in Santorini. I've skated in banquet halls, churches, and gyms. So it's about being creative. This season of Corona, I call it the Corona season, or the Corona era, has shown us how creative we may have to be going forward, because skating, as we know it traditionally, may not always occur in the rink. As a matter of fact, that armory was an idea that a lot of people had, but Saletta actually brought into fruition with the Legends Ball. So that was amazing. So I've skated in many, many venues. So he has no excuses. When she's 4, he can make a way. You know what I mean? So
I hope you're listening. You heard what Daddy said.
4 years old seems to be the
age where
when most people actually hit the rink, because a majority of our interviewees, they've actually stated that it was around 4 years old, when they actually hit the rink. So that's actually pretty interesting. Now, one of the things I do want to ask is that, being from the Empire area, do you by chance know why Empire actually closed down?
Well, it's funny you mention that. I have intimate knowledge of why Empire closed. I was a manager.
I've always
at
wanted
Empire.
to know. So.
Yeah, I was an Empire manager at Empire.
Okay.
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, Empire ultimately closed because of short-sightedness, vindictiveness, and zoning. And I'm going to say it in short order. Short-sightedness. The United States of America, I'm eternally grateful to them. They helped reopen Empire. It closed when Gloria, who was the daughter of Mr. Brahmi, he died, and Gloria was the daughter. She took it over, and she ran it, and it became iconic under her watch. And at the end of the day, she died. Her 2 children at the time, her adult children, they had chemical issues, to be politically correct, and they weren't in a position to run it. So in her will, she put it for Big Bob. Everybody knows him, the Big Bob, the DJ. That's a whole nother part of my story. That's my brother right there. She put in her will that Bob would be part of the people who would spearhead trying to keep Empire open as a roller rink. And Bob and another guy named Sam Alston, no relation to me, though we have the same last name, they went to 40 different lending institutions. No one would grant them the necessary funds. And finally, USA stepped up. They had the money. They're the largest roller rink operators in the United States. They had 18 rinks at the time. And we became Rink 51. I don't know if that denoted the ones that opened and closed, but they had 18 rinks open at the time. And so they took over Empire, and they made repairs that we thought were always needed, and we wanted, like air conditioning. Oh my God, Empire was like Dante's. It was like Dante's Inferno back in the day. But it's funny. Empire was dusty. It was old, but it had a spirit, a flavor, a energy that you couldn't find anywhere else in the world. And I'm in a unique position to say that unequivocally, because I've been pretty much anywhere that was everywhere that was anywhere. And I say that because they made all these improvements and everything, but they kind of made it almost like McDonald's. You go into McDonald's, shake machine on the left, blah, blah. I never actually worked at McDonald's, but
lost.
Right. Well, not all of it, but they stripped it of some of its history and the ties to the past. They kept some enough where they could say it was Empire, but they didn't really get it. So when I say short-sightedness, one of the first things I said when they came in, because it's funny, it reopened. She died in 98. So it closed, and it was closed for 14 months. And it reopened, oddly enough, on April Fool's Day, 2000.
Oh, wow.
So what happened is, look, we were fixing it up and doing it, and they were like, look, the floor's down. And I mean, literally, they were still nailing and painting. And I put my skates on and got on the floor. I said, I looked at Bob. I said, it's ready. I said, the sound is working, right? Bob said, it never shut off. He cut on the sound. I skated a minute. I said, we ready to open. We can open Saturday. They were like, really? We're not. I said, people don't care about paint and nails. They want sound and a floor. This is Brooklyn. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll bet my skates that if we open up this Saturday, we have over 500 people. He said, well, let's see you do it. Now, this was before the internet got big, so it wasn't like we just blasted out a tweet. Word of mouth, we had over 600 people in there, and Empire wasn't even finished being rebuilt. That's how strong the culture is in Empire. So short-sightedness, I'm touching on that. I'm getting there. Give me a minute. I'm on a tangent for a second. So
this is interesting.
What happened was, at that night while it was going on, I stood there with the owners. In particular, I'm going to mention his name, and he'll come up again in my talk with you, Jim Dvorak. I said to Jim, I said, you didn't think it could happen, right? He said, my God, this is amazing. So I'm going to, as an aside, I'll share this. In a Dr. Seuss book I read when I was 6 years old, Dr. Seuss said, most people don't realize the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. One of my greatest gifts is when I'm in the moment, I understand I'm in the moment. So I pulled him aside in the moment and said, what do you think now? He was, oh my God, this is amazing. I said, that's why we should landmark this, because we need to make sure it will always be here as a skating rink. And he said, oh, we'll revisit that issue later. I brought it up on 3 separate occasions. Yeah. And each time they found some excuse not to do it. And I told Bob after the 3rd time, I said, they're hedging their bets. They don't believe, they don't understand that Empire is what it is. And skating is what it is for us and to us. And as a result, the land is worth more than the business. So they had the Jewish community that wanted that prime. It was prime real estate. Yeah. So the short-sightedness was not landmarking it so that it could be there as a cultural icon. Because the closing day of Empire, I reminded Jim Dvorak of our conversation when they reopened, and he said, I had no idea. I said, I knew that. But the height of ignorance is to dismiss something without knowing exactly what it is. Right. So you didn't even do your homework. You made no effort to see about really investigating, turning this into a landmark facility. So, because we met all the parameters. So at any rate, that's the short-sightedness. The vindictiveness was, they reached a point when there was another guy, oh man, let me tell you. This guy, I'm gonna tell you that I'll mention his name in a moment. He was like our angel because he got it. He was one of their partners, and his name was Michael Feiger. And Michael Feiger saw Empire for what it was. He saw the potential. He talked to the people. He understood what Empire meant to us, not just culturally, but institutionally, and as far as in the neighborhood, just in the city. And he knew his partners were not utilizing it to its full potential, because they tried to run it like McDonald's. All McDonald's are the same, blah, blah, blah. But it's not McDonald's. It's Empire. It needs to be run separately. Like if I go to any rink, any iconic rink around the country, it has its own distinct flavor and energy and people that make it what it is. Because what makes a rink is not how good it looks or how much sound they have or the price. It's the people, the soul of the place, the spirit. And once you experience the spirit of a place, then and only then will you understand what the spirit of a place is. So at the end of the day, Michael Feiger proposed a deal with them. He said, I want to run Empire independently. You guys own it. I'll lease it from you and run it. And he did. And it became, Empire from the day it opened became the #1 grossing rink in their entire chain. Let's start with that. So the income potential was there, and it was being underutilized. We knew if you took the governors off, to take the chains off and let Empire be Empire, what it really could be. Yeah. Michael Feiger took the chains off, and it soared, and it made them feel kind of, like, oh, it didn't happen. It didn't happen on our watch. So they began to formulate a plan where they could divest themselves of Empire, but they didn't allow Michael Feiger to buy it. What happened in conjunction with that, and I said the third reason was zoning. Yeah. Zoning, they, I don't know, I can't tell you this, but I know they were consulting on it. I don't know if they proposed a zoning change in that area, which, because they're not from New York, I can't really see. But again, I don't discount anything out of hand. What happened is the zoning change, and Empire would no longer be able to exist as a roller rink under the new zoning provisions. Okay. We didn't know that. So when it's a storage facility now, when the storage facility people bought it, a lot of times, let me just say this, I'm pretty well spoken. I'm very passionate about skating. It's personal to me. can I say I'm a professional speaker in some circles? They consider me that. I've been paid for it. I've been trained. I don't know if you've heard of Toastmasters.
Yes.
I was vice president of education of my club within 7 months in Toastmasters. I take great pride in that. So it's a gift, but it's been honed. It's been refined. It's been, I've been trained. So they would bring me when they wanted to express different things at community situations, or like speaking to the borough president, the mayor, investors and things of that nature. They trot me out, and because I'm not only an avid roller skater, I'm a connoisseur of skating. I'm an ambassador of our art and sport, because it's both. It's both art and sport. Yeah. And my story is so personal. Skating saved my life. I'll touch on that in a minute. So I can't say if they were involved with the change in zoning, but what they did do was they capitalized off it. So they sold it to this storage facility place, and the people who bought it, we met with them, and we were like, yo, maybe you can keep the skating rink on the first floor and build over it. And to their credit, they took months exploring every legal avenue to keep Empire open, but in the end, they couldn't get around the zoning. And finally, they dismantled it. But they took months to do it. So they were diligent in at least investigating the possibility. And if they weren't, actually, they certainly gave the appearance of it. And I will forever appreciate the respect they showed to at least not just bulldoze it immediately, to give the illusion they were, investigating the possibility. But I believe they were, because of the answers they gave me when they came back and the things that I found out on my own. So it closed because of short-sightedness, vindictiveness, and zoning.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. One thing that I actually do like about skating rinks is that, they're all family ran businesses, family owned business. So you don't get that corporate feel. You don't get that, as you stated, McDonald's feel.
Right.
Because when you go in the rink, you want to feel like you're home. You don't want to feel like you're going into a Starbucks. I say Starbucks, you're drinking coffee. I don't know Starbucks.
It's a Starbucks cup, but it's my stuff in here. Yeah.
You don't want a Starbucks cake.
You don't want a Starbucks or cookie dough. Right. And they all have a different vibe to them. They all have a different look to them. They all have a different feel to them. I'm sad that I couldn't skate at Empire, because I'm just like, man, it just seemed like a really dope rink, Yeah.
It was unbelievable. There's nothing like it. And I don't say that just because that's where I'm from. I say, I give full props to any city, any rink that really, I'll give you, for instance, Glenwood in Chicago. I heard about Glenwood. They were like, this is the Chicago's version of Empire. Right. I'm one of those guys, if I played ball, when I was boxing, if you were good, I came to your neighbor. I came to your home turf, and I wanted to see what you were made out of, because really, I was challenging myself. So when it came to skating, I started doing that. I'm going to take this opportunity to delve into that part of the story. So my very first time adult roller skating was the last Sunday in August, 1978. I was 15 years old. My mother had moved us from Brooklyn into Queens to move into a house, basically to get me out of the project. She married a man she wasn't in love with, because, he was trying to take her out on a date and do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And because I was raised in a single-parent home the majority of my upbringing. So the guy, he was trying to find the right chords to strike. So finally he said, listen. So my mother was like, what do you really want? She said, look, I want to be with you, but at the end of the day, let's be real. You want to get your family out of he didn't just say me, but he said your family out of, the projects, and at the, basically raise your standard of living. And he said, I could really be an asset, but at the end of the day, you would never know if you don't investigate us. He said, so what are you saying? He said, look, if you marry me, because he just put it out there. He said, if you marry me, we'll get a house, you choose it, we'll get it, we close on it, do all the rest. And then, so this was my mother's birthday was November. She went looking around, found the perfect house. He put his name on the thing. And my grandfather was a Pentecostal minister. They got married in my grandfather's living room. And in May of 77, we moved into Queens. So I was pretty much in Brooklyn back and forth every day. I was playing in basketball leagues, and my friends were there. I didn't want to move to Queens. Was to me the country. As an aside, if someone's from Brooklyn, they don't say they're from New York. They say they're from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. At the end of the day, Queens was in New York by name only to us. It might as well have been in Spain, Queens. And then I moved to an area in Queens called St. Albans. So the capital of New York is Albany. People thought I was moving upstate. Albany, you moving upstairs? I said, no, Queens, I can take the train here. So at any rate, the following summer, I was in a basketball camp in Virginia. And when I came home, it was the last Sunday in August, 1978. And my friend, Paul Case, he lived on the corner and he saw me. He said, yo, man, you missed it. They opened up a roller rink it was actually 2 blocks up and 6 blocks down, exactly half a mile from my house. He said, it's called St. Albans Roller Rink. It was great. It was open from 7 to 7. They had food and this and that. And he said, and it's open tonight. I said, really? So I said, I'm going, because they didn't know I skated, because there wasn't any skating in Queens. But I would go, during that year, I would go back to Empire, not every Saturday, but at least twice a month. So I was still skating. I never stopped skating. And so I went, and I wanted, I like to be first one in at places. Everybody will tell you, he's the first one in, the last one to leave. I don't plan it as I'm always the last one out. So I got there, and there was some people online. I was like, I'm not, but it turned out there was a family session before the adult session. He didn't tell me it was an adult session. So the adult session was supposed to be 8 to 12, and those people left so they could clean up. And some of them, like 3 or 4 of the 10 people that were online had children with them. So they were going to make an exception since it had just opened, and they were paying to come back in. So they were going to let them keep their kids with them, and they were going to skate a couple of hours and leave. So I was talking all that, man, this and that, I can't wait to get. So the security guard was like, man, you sound like you really, I said, yeah. He said, okay. He said, I'm going to see if you could do all this stuff you're talking. So when the doors opened up, he did like this, and, he beckoned me, and he let me in.
Yeah.
So I went in, I was the first one in. I got some rental skates, I put them on, and I got on the floor, and I was, because I knew how to skate, or so I thought. Remember, my experience with skating was just family sessions. We playing tag, jumping over the rail, chasing people. Now I come here and I see these people doing all these maneuvers. And I'm going to tell you that I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm 57 years old, and I remember this like it was yesterday. There was this guy there named Derek Williams. He was a, dark-skinned guy. He was bow-legged. He had sneaker skates on. He was dressed all cool. He had sunglasses on, which I never got, skating with sunglasses on. But he looked cool. And they cleared the floor. And I'm like, what are they doing? They said, the next few songs will be for couples and couples only. And they let, you had to get a partner to get on the floor. And there was this woman named Sally Robinson that they linked up, and she was dark-skinned and bow-legged too. She was one of them girls at the rinks with the pom-pom on her skates, and everybody knew her. And so they proceeded to skate backwards, and she leaned back on him and closed her eyes, and he was gliding around the rink. I was mesmerized. And then one of the people that couldn't skate too well, fell behind him. And I was like, he's gonna fall back over them. And, I know now when you're skating backwards, you look over your shoulder here, you look over your shoulder there. So it looks like you're not looking, but your peripheral, you can see. I didn't know that then. It looked like he was skating backwards with sunglasses on. He's about to fall over these people. Yeah. And he just whizzed to the side and whizzed back. And I was like, yo, I got to learn how to do that. And let me tell you something. The rest of the session went on. And at the end of the night, I went and grabbed the flyer that had the sessions in it, and I saw they had a session on Monday, and the only day that rink was closed was Tuesday. It was open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday through Sunday. So I saw Monday, 8 to 12, and I told the security guard, yo, I'm coming tomorrow. He said, you gonna be the first one here? He said, yeah. He said, if you here first, I'll let you in again. Monday came, I was in there first. Now, during the course of that Sunday session I was at, I noticed there were 10 or 12 people that were like cutting through and doing all this. Yeah. So when I came on Monday, those 10 to 12 people were in the rink. And I said, that's how you get good. You come every day. I'm going to tell you 3 things about that. Number 1, those 10 to 12 people worked at the rink. They took jobs working family session so they could skate for free during the adult session.
And that's the way
I didn't know that. That's the way to do it. I didn't know that.
That's the way to do it.
Second thing about those 10 to 12 people, they were pretty good. But, it's like in the beginning, anybody that can do more than you is like, oh my God, how do you do this? And it didn't take me long to realize they were basically average. Derek was really a good skater, but I'll get more on that in a minute. So the third thing is, since the last Sunday in August of 1978, I have not been off my skates longer than 2 weeks. And that's documented.
Wow.
I don't think I missed a day at St. Albans Roller Rink from the time they opened through their first year. Because at the end of their first year, they closed up for about a week and they redid the floor and it was never really the same. But they were only open 2 years, from 78 to 80. And then Jamaican Roller Dome opened and we were skating there when they closed down. But I have not been off my skates for longer than 2 weeks since the last Sunday in August 1978. Documented. Yeah, that's right.
Before I was born. I was born.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Well, I knew you was coming, so I had to keep the rink doors open.
There you go, my man. That's what I'm talking about.
So, hey, this is the absolute epitome of predecessor. Because had it not been for not just me, but people like me who came, had the fervor, the enthusiasm, and more importantly, came out. There's a thing I read recently that said, we want people to judge us on our intentions, but we judge them on their actions. Right. So there's people in the skate community that talk about, you know, patronizing this and going here and doing this. Look, I don't tell you how it was back in the day. I live it every time I show up and I cross that threshold. Ask anybody, what do I do? They even know where my bag is at every rink. I'm very consistent. I come in, I put my skates on, I say my hellos, all the rest. Like, in other words, my office hours off. Because once I get on the floor, I get off. I stretch, I get on the floor, I do a couple of backwards laps, and then I'm off to the races. Oh. But if anybody wants to know how I am, who I am, what I am in regards to skating, all I gotta do is show up wherever you live on a regular basis. And when you see me at any rink at any time, from that day to this one, that's the way I am. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to mention 3 people that help really shape who I am in the skate community. And one of them is this guy, Michael Kimball. Michael Kimball was a Muslim and he used to wear the kufi, and he had I don't know what they call the shirt that's kind of long. It looks like almost like a dress. And is it Amira, you know what it's called. Yeah, okay. So he would wear that and he had the oils on. He was the one who introduced me to the oils, which I still wear to this day. And, you know, he smelled good. He had the ring in his nose. He just looked cool. He was bow-legged and pigeon-toed, which I found out certain physical attributes are actually assets for skating. And, you know, he was just cool. He didn't skate hard enough to sweat, but he had these little movements. And for a year, he would skate for a while, and then he'd be talking to people on the side. He'd talk real low, like he had that cool voice, like, yo, man, you know what he had that, like Miles Davis or somebody. And you never saw him, like, his thermometer never went up. He was just almost like flatline, but he was cool. So about just when Empire, when when St. Albans Roller Rink was about to close for that week when they were going to do renovations, he came over to me and he said, you know, they used to speak, all the old timers used to speak because they saw, yo, this kid is really into it. He's here every day. And so within 6 months, I was really making strides with improving. And by the time of my first year of adult skating pass, I was making a name for myself. So he said they had the Coca-Cola competition. I came in second to this guy named Curtis Harris. He's still, matter of fact, Curtis is running for office in New York now. You know, he went. Wow. He's very politically active. Yeah, more on that later. Like Alicia Reese, she was the first council person, African American and woman council person in the city of Cincinnati. Yeah, there's a lot of history in skating. So she met somebody in politics at a skate party who tripped over her, and they ended up talking. She got interested in politics, and crazy. So Curtis Harris won. I came in second, and then I won. And the couples part, because I won 2 trophies there. And it was like, so, I won trophies now. Yeah, you can't tell me nothing. So, I'm a teenager. And I was in there skating with these adults that was skating for years. So Michael Kimball came over to me and he said, yo, I think you're ready to take your show on the road. I said, what you mean? He said, you need to go out and skate in different places and see different things. And he was the first one that told me, you need to learn how to make adjustments to the texture, to the textures of different floors and different rink dimensions and things like that. He said, because you want to be a well-rounded skater. And I said, yeah. He said, so I got somewhere to take you. I said, where? He said, I'll tell you, but I said, well, where is it? He said, it's in Brooklyn. I said, Empire, I skated there. He said, no, it's not Empire. So to me, it was like, if it's not Empire, where is it? So he said, look, we're going to go Saturday. I said, well, what time is the session? The sessions back then on Saturday were like 10 to 6. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the rinks were open like crazy, 8, 7 hours. So he said to me, I said, good, I'll be at your house at 8:30. He said, oh, slow down. We get there about 1, 2. I said, 1 or 2 o'clock. So he looked at me like, because remember, I'm first in, last out. So he looked at me like, all right, for you, we'll leave about 11. Man, I was by his house about 11:15, but I didn't ring the doorbell till about 5 minutes to 11 because, I was ready to go. I was ready to go since he told me. So he was taking long, and that was when he would always give me bullet cakes. Want a bullet cake? I had like 8 of them in my bag. I ate them, but like he always giving me bullet cake. All right, I put it in my bag. I don't want to eat. I want to skate. He's moving all slow, putting on the oils, and I don't know if he's facing Mecca. And I'm ready to skate. So he finally was ready. He's taking you remember Cedric the Entertainer talked about when his uncle or whoever, the old timers, would get in the car, they got to adjust the mirrors and all that for it. Yeah. He did all that. He was adjusting. Man, you're the only one driving this car. Let's go. So, man, it seemed like it took forever to get there. And we got there. I went in, and it wasn't crowded. I put my skates on. I saw a guy sleeping on, they had something similar to stadiums. It was a very small, intimate place. It was called Sweet Rubies. And I had never heard of it. Amazing place. But at any rate, so I'm tying my skates up and I'm looking at this floor oh yeah, this look like it's on now. And I see this guy sleeping. I said, then what? He said, nah, he got all night. He's probably went to work taking a nap. I would have been sleeping if you didn't drag me here. So I saw him meander to the far side of the ring. And there was a group of people standing there talking. So I got ready to step on the floor. And this blur with a white shirt and red satin shiny pants zipped by me, and I backed up. This dude did this. He did a backwards 360 to a shoot to duck. And for those that don't know, that's that maneuver where you go down on one leg where your leg is straight out, where you're all the way near the floor. And he popped up into a split and slid to the thing and took off. And I was mesmerized. I watched this dude for about 5 minutes, and then finally, I'm not one of them skaters that stand around watching for long. I'm here to skate. So, and then I learned how to watch people as I was skating because of this guy. But that was Mike Johnson. A lot of us, we talk about Mike, he passed away. We talk about a lot of people enter this conversation, the GOAT, who's the best, who's this or that, all around. And I'm not saying this in terms of competition because I've learned our only real competition is ourselves, who we are versus who we can be. But having said that, the all around, he was the best skater I ever saw because I've done shows, I've been in competitions. I see people that will jump in the middle of a circle and show off, but clear the whole floor and have 1,000 people watching you out there by yourself. Yeah. The rink feels different. Yeah. Put on a show in front of people that aren't skaters, that don't understand the degree of difficulty, how much you had to practice to get the synchronization down, all the rest, and put on a show on a floor that's not wood, that they didn't tell you in advance, have bubbles or, so I've been through some situations. And so I don't come by it is my opinion. I don't come by my opinions lightly. I tell you what fed my opinion. I tell you what it's based on. See, I deal with facts, logic, and reason. So at the end of the day, the facts are, in every terrain, he graded at the highest level, 1, 2, or 3. And I witnessed him in a variety of environments. And yeah, that dude was amazing. But anyway, that was my first time seeing him. So I get on the floor and I start skating, and I'm getting into it because the floor was amazing. The turns were slightly banked. So you could it was a smaller rink, but it skated large. And that was the first time I understood that concept. When you look at certain skate floors, it's this place doesn't look that big, but when you skate, it just gets bigger. It seems bigger. And he, was skating, I was skating, and it seemed like nobody else was really on the floor. It seemed like it was me and him, maybe 1 or 2 other people. So Michael Kimball was talking to this group of people that after I made my first 20 or 30 laps, I started noticing they were all watching me when I came by. And comes to find out it was Bill Butler and the Good Skates. Wow. And they were, Michael Kimball was telling them, this guy here, he's got potential. And I didn't know Michael Kimball had dealings or ties with Bill. I don't know if he trained with him, but everybody was doing this thing they call the technique. Now they call it New York, New Jersey style, but it all originated from Bill Butler's technique. And Bill spoke to me that night, and I met a couple of people there. Another guy named Lenny. They call him Booby. I found out just a year ago, I'm actually older than him, but I thought he was so much older because he was skating. He was more advanced. He was skating with them, and I thought he was older than me all these years. I'm actually months older than him. I'm like, wow. And also a guy, Cliff. Cliff was there, and it was a couple other people that Amani was there, Patrick, I remember clearly that all of them were there because, you know, that was their spot. They practiced in. That was like their home rink. Empire was more like Showtime, but they practiced at different spots and different rinks. I didn't know that at the time, but I realized that's the attraction it held for them. The floor was unbelievable. One of the top 3 floors I've ever skated on. And I've been to probably 200 rinks at this point. So
in a house, or where was it located? Because you said you never.
It was located. Listen, it's a dentist's office now. It was a small little spot on the corner of Myrtle and Wyckoff. That back in the 70s, they were slapping up roller rinks everywhere.
Okay.
So it came up during that period of time. I couldn't tell you when Sweet Movies opened, but I remember when they closed. But at the end of the day, I skated there, you know, and not just once either. But it was like a special, special place. But that was where I met Mike Johnson and Bill. Yeah. So I've known Bill Butler since 1979. And as Bill says, he had this members only night at Empire, and he made up these shirts that said, "Were you ever there?" after the fact, because once Empire closed, it was an iconic session. And he would say, "That guy was there." Like, because I wasn't just there, I was there.
Yeah.
I was, you know, in the mix, skating hard with and talking to all the people. I became the manager there. I never wanted to be the manager. I worked at all these rinks. People used to think, let me back up a minute. I retired. I gotta say this. Look, for all you younger folks out there, there is more to life than skating. It's my passion. And it's a segue into me doing life coaching and, you know, passing along what was freely given to me by several villages, because the person that's on this thing now, I wasn't this guy when I started. I developed into this guy, but I'm gonna show this. I don't know if they can see it. That right there is my retirement. Well, let me take it out the case. I retired from the New York City subway system, the premier transportation system in the entire Northern Hemisphere, after 35 years of service. I did 35. I did more time than men. I did more time than Mandela. I like to say that because it's technically true, but we know he did different time. It just sounds fly. Anyway, but at the end of the day, I retired. My official retirement date was November 24th, 2017. So let me tell you something. My job now is to weave in and out and collect as many checks for as many years as I gave them of my life, because they took my entire adult life. I started the day after my 20th birthday. So my entire adult life, I worked at Transit. So anyway, I say that in the context of I worked at every rink I went to regular, and I never went there looking for a job. The owners would see how I interacted with the people, how much I cared. There's a saying that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
So the skaters would understand, like, this guy is who he presents himself to be with skating. I always share this. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I went through growing pains. My upbringing was like insane. It was bananas. It was very dysfunctional. I'll touch on that maybe a little later, but right now I want to share that. But as far as skating goes, 100% with the skating aspect. And I'm gonna share this. There was a period of time that I wasn't 100%. And it was up to 1980, because, you know, I'm from the street project. My mother did the best she could. I had strong moral guidance and all the rest. Like I said, my grandfather was a Pentecostal minister. My mother exposed me to every denomination out there because she didn't want me to become like my uncle, where he tried to be the anti of my grandfather. And he volunteered. He lied about his age and volunteered into the Marines and went and served 2 tours front line at Vietnam. Nuts. And I used to ask him, why'd you join the Marines? Because they the toughest? He said, no, because I know I get a chance to kill people. And he would never smile. And like, my uncle died before I got a chance to engage him as an adult. And I realize now he was trying to be the anti of my grandfather. My grandfather was a Pentecostal minister, well respected. Everything was, you know, calm and be peaceful and but my uncle was like me, like, yo, set fire to that ass. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but at the end of the day, he went to such an extreme. He chose to get into a situation where he could work out all his frustrations in taking human life. Like, he's the whoa end of the. Well, at any rate, I mention that to say, there's a lot of things that help formulate who I am and, you know, how I've come to be. So I wasn't always this guy, but skating kept me in the game long enough to get exposed to people who led me into different areas. And in exploring those areas, I took bits and pieces, and, you know, I'm a composite composite, of many different people, many different experiences. And, you know, it's like from the cradle to the grave, you can learn from everybody. So a minute ago, I was talking about 3 people that influence who I've become in this skate journey. Because I always call it a journey because it is. And along the way, I'm like one of my favorite shows is The Wizard of Oz. And she got simple instructions. Follow the yellow brick road, right? It would lead you to the wizard who would help you get home. In life, the yellow brick road that's leading, the wizard is understanding for us in life. There's a metaphor there. So understanding comes many different ways at many different times. That's why people have epiphanies. We never know when that moment's going to come. Like your best friend was a stranger the day before you met.
Right.
Your favorite food you had to try for the first time. The spot you enjoy the most, at some point, it was unknown to you. So life is a collection of experiences that are actually lessons. And if you're paying attention, you learn the lessons and you move on to something else. If you're not paying attention, you go through the same things over and over with different people, places, and things. And at the end of the day, it's because you have not, like in Monopoly, you didn't pass go, you can't collect $200. So, and the $200 is just understanding. Once you get the information, you still have to activate it. You have to get experience with it. You have to become proficient with information. It's just not you have the information so you're good. The guy, Tony Robbins, said, we don't lack for information, we lack for wisdom. Wisdom is evaluated experience. Mine, yours, everybody's. So I mentioned earlier, the height of ignorance is to dismiss something without knowing exactly what it is. I don't know what you know. I have to at least let you share with me, and then I can examine it and see if it's of any value to me. And even if it's not, I'm placing it on the shelf. I might run into somebody 50 years later where that very thing is what they need, and then I'll give it to them. So everything you go through, everything you learn, everything you know, ain't always for you. Yeah, I use the word ain't as in the dictionary.
Yeah.
So I said that in Toastmasters one time. I did a speech on ain't because it was about words that formerly were like taboo or denoted. You didn't have a command of the English language. Just like somebody told me, a healthy cuss word every now and then is not necessarily by accident, or it does not denote that you don't have a plethora of sesquipedalian words in your vocabulary that can adequately articulate what you're trying to say. No, I'm cursing on purpose because that's the only word.
Attention.
Right, exactly. So back to the 3 people. Number 1, Michael Kimball. He was cool. He was smooth. He was under control. He was an ambassador. And I know that because he watched me and reached out to me and put breadcrumbs down. I call it breadcrumbs. You ever watch a pigeon, you give them breadcrumbs? And I was watching this homeless guy in the park one day, and I thought he was feeding the pigeons because it was peaceful. So he was feeding them. And there was one bigger one in particular. He was putting the breadcrumbs in front of him. The pigeon was getting closer and closer. And when he got close enough, he grabbed him and smiled at me and walked off. I said, yo, he was hunting for dinner. Pigeons are not the wisest. Yeah, but breadcrumbs. And you know what Michael Kimball did? He put breadcrumbs down and he got me. He got me with traveling, with skating, going to different rinks. And I never stopped. I'm at this rink, that rink. There's always 1 or 2 places that are home, but I still venture out all the time. Like when you travel, you go to a hotel room. It's your home temporarily. You go there, you put your stuff in the closet, you know what I mean? All your toiletries out on the sink. But when it's time to go, you pack it all up and you leave. And that's my skate bag. I pack it all up and I leave. So Michael Kimball got me. He noticed me. He engaged me, but he didn't come over and like, do this, do that. He never, when I think back, he never told me anything about put your foot down this way. And he didn't coach me that way. He just got me going to other spots. Second person is this guy, Marion Green. I ended up working at the Roxy, the original Roxy. Now when it closed and reopened, and it was they made it this odd shape, and the Asians came and took it over, and it was like a trendy thing to do. No, the original Roxy. One of the 5 greatest rinks I've ever been in, without question. Rink overall, I'm not just talking about the floor. With Sweet Rubies, I denote one of the best 3 floors. Roxy was one of the top 5 rinks. And I was in there and I was skating, and this guy told me, the owner wants to see you. I was the owner. So I went up, and they had like an upstairs office overlooking the floor. They also had a private lounge that it was soundproof. So I'm like, what? It's like the mafia. The boss wants to see you. Man, I go up there, and the guy said, he said, we've been watching you. He said, and how would you feel about partnering up with us? I said, partnering up with you? He said, yeah. So I thought about it. I said, doing what? He said, Roxy, partnering up with us. Like, I said, sure. He said, okay, We'll come tomorrow. We'll finalize the detail. So I went back out skating, and I told somebody, they called. He said, "Where you went?" I said, "Up in the office." They told me they want me to partner up with them. "Oh, you got a job at Roxy?" I didn't, I didn't know that's how they operate. Like you had to be, you had to be, what do you say, edified by somebody that was certified, and like I forgot the saying, but so this guy Will Reed, who passed away, they had asked him, "What do you think of this guy?" Will is a whole. I would need a whole segment to talk about Will and his influence on me. But Will, he was a vet skater, and he could really skate. He had emotional issues in terms of he was so sensitive, and I got to know him, his story, and I understood him, so we were cool. I would skate with him, and they figured if he could skate with Will and survive Will, he must be something. So they asked Will, "What do you think of this guy?" He said, "Oh, he can handle working here." Yeah. So that Will gave the recommendation. They checked me out and called me upstairs after they watched me that night to see if I fit, because they were big on you got to fit in with the family. So I got the job. And at the time, they only had 2 floor guards, James Brown and Marion Green. James Brown was like Michael Jai, what's his name? The karate guy? Jai. Michael Jai. I knew. I just wanted you to say it because you look like him right now. It's a thing. So no, I know who he is. I ran across him at several locations, let's just say. So he looked just like him, and he was off. He came from the military. He was like Jim Brown. He was like made like cast iron, and he was a floor guard. He used to wear these big boot covers with like fur on it. He looked like extra from 1 million years BC, the way he looked dressed, but that was his uniform, no sleeves, and like a caveman, like he would me eat him up, So he was one floor guard, which I realize now he was like, all he had to do is look at you, shake his head, point his finger, and people would listen. And then Marion Green was the other one. Marion Green, he skated in tights with a fanny pack. But let me tell you something. No, to this day, I don't know his sexual orientation. I know he has a daughter and all the rest, which doesn't mean anything, but it didn't make a difference. Marion Green is hands down the most well-respected person I have ever come across in the skate world. And I'm saying he skated in tights and a fanny pack because, Olivia Newton-John, let's get physical. Yeah. That was where, it was like everybody was wearing, the leg warmers and men, women, everybody. And he worked at the Roxy, and it was like the village, like eclectic, and so he fit in. It was like a uniform thing. So, but he was involved in dance, like Alvin Ailey type of dance. Hold on a minute. Call was coming in. So here's the thing. He was, he did like Alvin Ailey dances. So that now that I know that, it was like, it wasn't any strange, but this is this guy. And I don't care if it was a thug. It was the beginning of the B-boy era in full, because they used to have a thing on Fridays there called Culture Night. And people used to come from other countries and all that. And that's where African Bambaataa set up shop. And like I was there at the beginning of all of it. So I didn't realize then how historic everything was there. It was like an underground thing Friday, but then on Saturday we skating there. Like people had no clue what was going on the night before. Right. They had shows and groups and oh my God. So at any rate, so Marion was the other floor guard, and he was like the head guy. And so Marion just gave me some simple instructions, and we talked. But I watched how he interacted with people. I saw the respect they have from the reverence, and I saw it was across the board: white, black, old, short, gangsters, everybody. And he never raised his voice. I never saw him get upset. He was just like calm. And so I patted myself after Marion Green as a floor guard and in the ring. And then finally, Wayne Schmidt. Wayne Schmidt was the manager of the skate key and then the key. One closed and the other one reopened, and for legal purposes, they didn't take the same name. So the skate key was the one on Allerton Avenue. If you talk to anybody that skated there in the Bronx, they would tell you, Allerton Avenue? Like if you didn't go to Allerton Avenue, it was like, oh man, you knew Jack, or I skated Allerton Avenue, and then the key, which was East 138th Street, Grand Concourse. So Wayne was a manager. And when I first came there, he looked at me, I looked at him, and we didn't, he said, good evening, welcome. And I came in, I skated it, and when I was leaving, he said, did you enjoy yourself? I was like, yeah, like it was, he was just, he looked like a white supremacist. I'm not gonna lie, he had bald head and beard. It was white then, but he looked like the guy from the Kris Kringle story. The little like Kris Kringle is in fact with the hat. You know, he's bald headed with the white thing. Hey, he looks just like Colonel Sanders, like that. So, and, you know, he just looked at me in earnest, and then, you know, I came back, and then he said the same words he said to Roxy. You know, listen, you know, I see how you interact with people or whatever, and I'd like you to partner up with us. I said, well, you know, like I work for Transit, my schedule is no. I just want you to come and skate and tell us what you think and things you might think could help us. And he used to pay me, and he used to give me tickets so I could give tickets out to my friends to come to Skate Key. And I never got paid just to skate before. Like, I worked at rinks, but I never got paid just to skate. Right. So I was like, wow, this is like, it wasn't like he was giving me thousands of dollars, but I mean, it was, it was cool. And I just watched how he handled and diffused situations and dealt with matters in the rink. And I asked him a lot of questions. And when I became a manager at the rink in Empire, I will give USA credit. They helped me learn about risk management and cash control policies and different aspects of roller rink ownership. But Wayne was the one that taught me how you run a rink. You see what I'm saying? So I had this discussion with somebody just 2 days ago. I said, there are roller rink owners that own rinks, but they don't know how to run a roller rink.
Yes.
We're not talking about paying the bills and keeping the doors open.
Yeah.
They don't understand the soul of a skater. Because I learned this in sales. Hot button. What's a person's hot button? What moves them to action? What makes them tick? My grandfather used to breed horses. He had this expression, horses for courses. He said some horses run better in the mud, some in the sand, some from the front, some from the back, some on the inside, some on the outside, some you got to whip, some you leave alone. You need to understand what kind of horse you have so you can put them in an optimal position to get optimal performance. So I thought about what one of my coaches used to tell me. He said, great coaches get the most from the least and the best from the best. So you gotta identify who your best player is and get the best out of them. And everybody else get the most you can out of them. When we played ball, I didn't care if a guy couldn't dribble. If he could shoot, all I need you to do is stay within 5 feet of this area, because that's the only place I'm giving you the ball. You know what I mean? Type of thing. Yeah. So in skating, you have to understand the horses in the ring. You have to understand who's the one that can. See, here's another thing I learned in leadership. Who has more power on a job? The person with the title or the person with the influence? Right. So, you know, most people say the guy with the title, you know, he's the president, or he's no, it's the person with the influence. Because he has the ear of the person with the power, and he can influence those decisions. So they said, strive to not to necessarily to achieve, but to have an impact. You know, don't strive to be successful. Strive to have an impact, be significant. And the way to do that is to have the ability to influence others and guide them in matters and in ways that are not so much mutually beneficial, but that have their best interest in mind. Yeah. So that speaks to a customer gathering. If you understand what the customer needs and you keep that as the forefront, you will always be able to acquire customers no matter what the venue, no matter what the occupation or endeavor. And not only that, those customers will be your greatest customer gatherers because that was who you took care of. So the roller rink operators, they don't understand how important it is to have a person who has influence in the skate community, that has what they used to say, their ear to the ground and can hear they heard his movement. And it's to their detriment, because their thing is they equate everything to a slight on their intelligence. Like, I know what I'm doing. I own the rink, you don't.
Right.
You own the rink. But let me ask you this: why is it not filled up?
Yeah.
Why every night you don't have it filled? Yeah, okay, we all know family sessions, you know, fuel the business in terms of that what pays the bills. Yeah. But if you open the doors, there's no business I've ever seen that said, you know, our bank account, we have one of those special bank accounts where it says no more money can fit in. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never seen one of them accounts. So there's no such thing as too much. I say this, and this speaks to humans in general. We are the only life form yet discovered that consciously choose to stop growing. How do we consciously choose to stop growing? We stop working. The expression, a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. The way that a human grows, we understand as far as physical, life is a cycle of birth, growth, fruitage, and decline. You reach a certain age and, you know, you're not going to be what you once were. You don't have to fall off a cliff. I'm a living testimony to that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're not going to be what you were at 25. But you can still have quality of life at a high level if that's what you aspire to. So having said that, the way we can continue to grow till the show's over and they throw the dirt in your face is spiritually, mentally, emotionally, socially, experientially, you know, by reading, listening, taking in more and more, and then activating it and having personal experience with this information. So when I share that, how tall does a tree grow? As tall as it can. How many patrons should come into your business? As many as the law allows.
Right.
Because they do have, you know, I learned that working with USA, you know, you have to have a capacity is based on egress in the event of an emergency. So if you have so many exit doors, we used to wonder why Empire was so small and can have so many people in there. And then these big places can only have 800 people. They didn't have sufficient egress, you know, so all these things became clear. So when it comes to the mentality of certain rink owners, my thing is you need to identify the horses. You have people in the rink. You don't have to, see, you can't edify yourself. You need other people to do that. And how do you do that? Maya Angelou said it best. People may not remember what you said or even what you did, but they will certainly remember how you made them feel. Right. I've gone to restaurants where the food wasn't as great as another place, but their customer service was through the roof. So the entire experience was better. Yeah. You know, but at the end of the day, I'm going to the hole in the wall for the good food. I'm sorry. Yeah. The hole in the wall they went. Yeah.
Let me ask you this before we get out of here, because we're about to run out of time.
Okay. Run out of time? I was told I could talk to them. I thought we were going to be out at 6 o'clock. No, but go on.
So, well, first and foremost, you have a photographic memory. I'm up here like, this man remembers
everything.
The number of ants that was in the anthill outside his house. He remember all that stuff. But, and this is something that, you know, I think is important, you know, to know. In your opinion, being that you were at one of the most prominent rinks, what do you think are the key ingredients that skating rinks need to have now in order to be successful and in order to flourish? Because you made a good point. There's a lot of rink owners that actually just don't understand the culture. They think they do, but they don't have their ear to the ground because they're not connected with the actual skaters. So they have these big, beautiful rinks, and it's probably at 0.1% field.
Yes.
You know, so what do you think are the key ingredients that these rinks need to focus on in order to bring the people back to the rinks?
Okay, well, I'm a use an example. Tracy and Millennium. Tracy actually owns a roller rink. I met Tracy at a managerial workshop for USA. And they were asking questions, and nobody was raising their hand. I knew all the answers. So she said, I'm sitting next to you. You seem like you know more than them. And we forged a friendship. And Tracy understood immediately, this guy can teach me stuff. Because she was in learning mode. She wanted her stated objective. I want to learn all I can. I want to own a rink. I did say she owns a rink, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And justifies the means. So she's a student. She's always learning. She never took on the attitude, I know it all. So at least not around me and to my knowledge. I haven't heard any stories. She thinks she knows it. No, that Tracy's always asking questions and trying to get better. My uncle taught me this when I was 7. Excellence is the gradual result of always striving to get better. So she owns a rink and she was managing at Millennium. And I came in one day and we were talking, and she said to me, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I said, I'm going to give you a simple suggestion that will help. She said, what is it? What? She was all ears. I said, change the lighting. She said, what do you mean? I said, it's too bright. It's like being in a lunchroom at school. But you don't want it too dark. She said, so what color you think? I said, well, in here, red probably be a good color in here because of the way I told her about the paint and the I'm saying furniture, but the way it was furnished. And she looked at me, she said, She didn't say anything. A week later, actually, she put them in immediately. And it wasn't a week later. I'm sorry. The next event I attended there, I came and I walked in and she looked at me and said, I got a surprise for you. I said, what? She said, I took your suggestion. Oh my God. Our numbers went through the roof. The only thing that changed was the lights. I said, what do you mean? And so she went in and turned the switch and the red lighting came on. Changed the entire complexion of the place.
Oh, yeah.
Now, so when you talk about the elements that go into it, atmosphere. Yeah. So Okay, there's certain core elements. You need a great sound system. Not good, not adequate, great. Empire was a dump. And like I said, in the summer, there was people that, I define them as seasonal Empire skaters. And I don't blame them. It was like, I don't know if you've ever been in a pizzeria in the summertime that didn't have air conditioning with the oven and it's like 20 degrees hot and it's 90 degrees outside. That's how Empire felt. And we were in there. I mean, I still went in there. And, you know, we talked about air conditioning, but you know what made Empire? They had a great sound system. They had a great floor. And they had the type of lighting that could change the mood. If you had slow sets, it could change the mood. If the people were skating, it was crowded. It was enough light to see, but it wasn't like being in Macy's window kind of thing. Right. Well, not too dark, not too light, like the right mix. So lighting is important, but it doesn't have to be a lot of lighting. It has to be effective lighting. Right. So I would say, first of all, you got to start with a great floor. You got to have, and it doesn't make a difference if you have the best wood or whatever. There's certain things you can do to optimize whatever floor you have. So the next thing is the sound system. The reason why I put it in that order, because, hey, we live in an age where people can plug this in, but if you don't have a great floor, they can't do it. So sound absolutely drives the engine. New music, this guy, Krista Peister, said this. I never forgot. He said, new music makes you do new things. It's just like new skates, a new person in your life, all of that. But he said it about skating, and I was like, he's absolutely right. When I hear a new song or, you know, that record you've been waiting to hear, you have new energy, wind beneath your wings, if you will. Yeah. So those elements, floor, sound, lighting, or atmosphere, because they all contribute to the atmosphere. Yeah. Like, you have to take into account where you want the people to get dressed, like how the floor is set up. If I'm building a rink from scratch, there's a certain thing I want you to see when you come in. There's a certain environment I want you to be in as you're getting dressed, you know, like interacting with people, things like that. So like a lot of places have it where you got all these little cubby holes and stuff. And the people, like, that's like the water cooler at an office. You know, guess where most people congregate? The water cooler, or the coffee room, the break room, the lunch room, you know. So where we put our skates on, that's our break room, our lunch room, our coffee, you know, thing, our water cooler. So there's that. And then the next thing is the aspect of the best rinks all had a practice floor. Why? So people can practice. It's a daunting thing to learn while zoom, everybody. And if you're an adult, guess what session you're going to come to? The adult session. They don't want to go to the kiddie sessions because the kids are flying all around and it's somewhat dangerous. And then some people say, well, I'd rather learn with the kids because if they hit you, it don't hurt as much as the adults. But you need a practice floor. So people can get through the rock and rolling stage until they have their balance, because skating starts with balance. You cannot do anything until you can stand up on them. And then you can roller skate. There's people, I'm going to mention Richard Humphreys. He's let me tell you, it's two guys that go on Mount Rushmore by any measure. And that's Bill Butler and Richard Humphreys. Richard Humphreys is the king of roller dancing. It's roller skating because he's rolling, and he's not just dancing in place. He's you have to have control of your skates. So you have to know how to roller skate to do what he does. But you don't have to be as proficient cutting through the crowd and doing the stuff that Bill does. So, apples and oranges. But the impact and the legacy that these guys have left behind in terms of their mark on skating. Skating has been forever changed by those two gentlemen. So taking into account the Richard Humphreys thing, you can roller dance on a practice floor. Yeah. You don't have to necessarily learn where, you're in the middle of people doing all this and zipping by. And, so I'm going to say this about Empire. I'm going to back up 1 minute. Empire had basically 3 experiences in one. You had the big floor going around. It had a wrought iron gate around the middle. They used to have putt golf there. What do you call that? Putt and shoot, or I forgot the name of it. Yeah, and they had a bingo hall in the back. They tore down and put a practice floor back there. So the middle was a whole separate thing because, you had to skate, had more control. It was a tighter thing. But there were people that went in the middle, skated there all night. They didn't even go around. It was like 3 different experiences. And then you had the back floor, the practice floor. You had some new people, but you had other people who they didn't want to go as fast as the people going around on the, in the main floor Empire. Yeah. So it just provided 3 different environments. The key on Allerton Avenue, the skate key had a practice floor, but the key had 3 floors. They had the main floor. They had a little practice floor in the back where the main floor was. And in a separate room, they had a smaller rink where they actually could have sessions, and it was amazing. Actually, that rink wasn't that much smaller than Sweet Ruby's, but it created different environments within the same environment. And so a roller rink should have a practice area. You know what I mean? So these elements are all what go into the experience, but some people are space challenged, they can't do all that. So in descending order, floor, music, atmosphere. And the main thing that contributes to atmosphere is lighting. I've been in places that when the lights come on, it's like, yo, this is a dump. But it was great because the atmosphere was good, enthusiasm, the energy. Look, we are all forms of energy. Science is organized curiosity. Science has definitively proven and shown that everything is a form of energy. And energy never dies. It just goes somewhere. So if you don't have the energy, you need to check me out because I got mine and somebody else's. You know,
look, that was one of the reasons. No, Eric, what I need to know was when you was at Roxy, did you put on the tights and the fanny pack? I got to know that.
Okay, I'm going to tell the truth. I was part of this group in the 70s. Yeah, 70s. So, and it was called the Thunderbolt Wheelers. Oh, how many discussions we had on that? There's no such thing as a thunderbolt. It's a lightning bolt, but that's another story. And they recruited me because I was tall and they wanted me to, and you know, funny thing is my skate partner's name was Amira. How about that? So, so it was me and Amira, this guy, Andrew Wiles, and a girl named Rowena, and then there was a guy named Ron Peniel, and this other girl, her name escapes me at the moment. They'll come to me in a moment. Right. So it was like Ron Peniel was short, Andrew was middle, I was tall. So Bobby, who was the leader of the group, she said, Ron skated with Rowena, and Andrew skated with Bobby. So Bobby went with this guy named Craig, but he wasn't show material, let's just say. So she said, I got 2 dates for us. We're going to perform. And, you know, that was a big thing then, you know, performing on skates. So I was like, all right, bet. She said, I'm going to have the outfits ready. And she made these arm things or whatever. So she had these outfits laying there. It was 6 of them, 2 and 2. And they went, I said, what's that? Because, you know, she did dance and, you know, like ballet and all this stuff. And I was like, what's that? That's our uniform for the show. I'm looking at it. Mine was flesh colored, a unitard. You know, I'm down by law. Once I say I'm down, I don't back up. So I'm like, oh man, here we go. So we put them on and it's like, it looked like I was naked.
You got a picture?
Absolutely not. No, we don't have, good, thank God we didn't have these phones back then. That's one time I could say that. So what happened is the first performance, because her man Craig was a CO, we were coming, they were doing cultural enrichment for the inmates, was at the Brooklyn Men's House of Detention. We had to go into prison. Listen to me. Listen to me. First of all, we going in jail. So, you know, we had to go through all the protocols, check in and one door, other door, all this other stuff. We get in there and I'm like, I tell you, I'm from the street, right? I tell you, you know, that's part of my story. I've evolved, I've transformed, but I'm from the street. And I was still connected to the street. I'm like, oh man, let me see somebody I know. And I'm looking, I'm scanning the crowd. When we come in, I don't see nobody except this one guy all the way in the back. His name was Tyrone Majette. He became a Muslim while he was in prison. He had on the kufi and white. I said, that's Tyrone. I'm scanning my memory and who who he might talk to it. But my ultimate thing was I could kick his behind, so he ain't saying nothing. You know, that you always boil it down to that. You're from Brooklyn. If I can beat you,
it don't make a difference. I just beat you up. In jail. He might have a power you, player.
Oh, no. I'm combat trained, bro. Listen, he'd have taken a beat down. He knew it, I knew it, but that's not the point. It ain't going to undo him talking. So, but that was the mentality. So we get in there and we put our stuff on and we come out and we doing our performance and the prisoners are like looking at us and they looking and, the show was good. And at the end, we got, a chance to give them like high fives or whatever we leave. And Tyrone looked at me and he's shaking his head like, yeah, we going to talk when I get up out of here. So if you're in Brooklyn Men's House, you didn't have a lengthy enough sentence, or you were waiting to go to court and stuff. So some of the prisoners actually served their time there, and it was like time served, you go home, which that was his case. And he was there for a possession or something like that. And when he got out, he saw me. He was like, man, he said, show was dope. He said, but I ain't gonna lie, when you came out, first thought I said was, yo, this dude's naked. And then his second thought is, not E, because, you know, you wearing tights. Like, you got a secret you want to tell? Look, I love all my brothers and sisters. Your choices in life are your choices in life. I deal with you, like Martin Luther King said, the content of your character rather than the color of your skin, sexual orientation, religious affiliation, or any of that. And I may not always agree with choices people make, but I would defend with my last breath their right to have the ability to make those choices. So to each his own, but I'm heterosexual, not curious or none of that. So at the end of the day, when he said that, I was like, at least he asked me. I said, and I asked him, I couldn't help it. I was like, who did you tell? He said, I told my brother. I said, you might as well have went in Macy's window. He said, but he ain't gonna say, he guess what he said? He said, but he ain't gonna say nothing, because he's gonna know that I know he said it, and then it'd be a fight. You know what I mean? So yeah. So yeah, I wore tight, but not in the ring. And you know what's funny? My original skate partner, his name is Alexander Green, and he went by the nickname Q because he was DJing. So his Q was CUE, and he would DJ. He was into graffiti. He was excellent with artwork, and he could cook all this stuff. So we linked up at Roxy, and we started skating, and we developed this synchronized style of skating that became prolific, and we became well known. It's a rink I must mention, Laces, and that's the only rink you will ever hear me say was my house, mine. Like, I was the king of kings and Lace. That's right, I said it, and anybody who was there knows it's the absolute truth.
Y'all heard it here.
Matter of fact, it was the triple truth, Ruth. Yeah, so that's my only, ego stroke, if you will. So I have to say it that way, because that was our house. Like, celebrities would come in, whatever, they was looking for us. Like, we were known, like Run DMC grew up around the corner from him, Salt and Pepper, different basketball players, boxers. When they came through Laces, they knew who we were. So when we first started skating and learned all these moves, he said, yo, this is great. We had an uncanny connection with music and rhythm. And he said, just to please promise me one thing. I thought he was going to say that you're not going to stop skating. Because, you see some people every day for 3 years and then you don't see them no more. And I said, what? And he said, promise me you ain't never going to wear no goddamn tights. I said, you ain't got to worry about that, bro. And so, so speaking of the tights, it was a thing for a while with certain males, but mainly people like that went to the Roxy, Metropolis, skated in Central Park, not Empire. There was one guy who skated in tights. He passed away. They call him the King of Edges. His name was Solomon. And he skated with all kinds of multicolored tights and all that, like in a dress shirt. But he was a master of his skates. And he didn't skate around fast or anything. He was a master of cutting through the crowd, body angles, and edging. And they call him Master of the Edges. Yeah, Solomon. So he was the only guy that could wear tights in Empire. Yeah, he was the only one. There was a couple more that now and then you might see them as tights with a T-shirt, but basically it was just Solomon. He was a one-man show. Yeah, so to answer your tights situation, yeah. So you said we were about to run out of time. So you causing somebody to get beat up. I didn't beat nobody up in a long time. So I'm going to beat up the person that told me, look, I done cleared the deck. I ate a certain way. I woke up. I wanted to do an early thing, so we got plenty of time. I figured we start, you get tired. I got a lot to say. You saw that movie, The Fugitive, when the guy said, you're not the guy. He said, sit down. Right. I'm here now. No, but
we're still here, though. This is our show, so you can always.
So then I must do a part 2. Because I didn't talk about the parties we started. I didn't talk about different people and their relationship to skating. Yeah. I didn't, give shout outs. I mentioned certain people, but not shout out, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it's certain people that are essential to our roller skating, our collective roller skating story. So I could tell the story. Yeah.
I want to get you on for one of our Konnect After Darks, because you actually touched on a point that I would love to speak more about, and that's about being in touch with the skate community, being a rink owner. So I think that's something that's being lost. So I would love to have you back on for one of our Konnect After Darks. It's raw and uncut, so you can say whatever you want to say. We just don't say names, but exactly. You can say, speak your
piece. I get what you're saying. I do read in between the lines, because once I say it, you can't unsay it. That's your disclaimer. I told him not to mention your name.
All I can say is ooh.
I don't really do that. I do it in a context, but here's the thing. Jay-Z had a line in one of his songs that said, they can't do nothing to me, basically, because my tool is the truth. I speak the truth. And you know what? If you want to dispute it, I'll tell you where we were, when it happened. Like you say, the ants outside my house.
And people,
I'll tell you what you said, when you said it, exactly what you said, and what you was wearing and all the rest, if you want me to go that deep.
So be careful when y'all around him, because he going to remember.
Exactly. well, those that know me know, and what they say about, a small circle, the people that are closest to me is not easy, because I'm not asking you to do, like the thing with the Michael Jordan Last Dance. He said, I might have been hard on my teammates, but if you ask any of them, I didn't ask them to do anything I didn't effing do. So I don't ask people to do anything I don't do myself. Right. But at the end of the day, if you're close to me, there's a certain standard that comes with, because you're going to be the average of the five people closest to you. I don't want you dragging down my average. So you got to meet a certain standard. If you can't meet it, I'm going to meet you where you're at. I'm not going to discount you, your value as a human being, or any of that. But at the end of the day, you don't make the starting five.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can step in and be a 3-point specialist, but you ain't making the starting five. I'm sorry. Right. Because this is my foundation. This is, people who I can confide in, people I can talk to. What they say, when you're around people, you don't have to watch what you say around. You're in the right room.
Right.
You know what I mean? There are times when I will, I understand tactical diplomacy. I understand when something's said to me in confidence. I don't break that at all, ever. My integrity's on 1,000. You will never hear me say something about somebody else that you would say, if I told him that, I wouldn't want him telling me that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't do those. And if somebody's striving to tell me something about somebody else that falls in that category, I cut them short, because I'm silently condoning what they're doing. There's 3 kinds of people. Those that don't know they're doing something, those that know they're doing it and can't help themselves, and those that don't care. The last group, I'm super hard on. I kill ants with a sledgehammer. If you know you're doing it and you continue to do it, like you don't care, but I know how to identify certain things people can't help themselves with. And what I do is I don't place you in situations where, like, if I know you can't hold water, I'm not telling you something when you got to hold water. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I know you can't hold water. I'm mad at you for being who you are.
Right.
Fish don't climb trees. Don't be mad at the fish. Get up that tree. No, it's a fish. It doesn't climb trees. So,
Right. Okay. Well, how can the skaters connect with you?
How can they connect with me? Come to a rink. Anywhere. No, I'm only kidding. No. Listen, I've been very frugal with my presence on social media, because it's not about branding. It's about, I don't want to dilute certain things that I have going forward. And as you know, it's like, you vomit on the internet. After a while, people just skip over and they never know the content they really need to listen to. So what I'm going to say is, Amira, at a later time, we're going to discuss ways people can connect with people such as myself, and we can basically interact with different topics, or it could be personal one-on-one. Listen, I've been clean 30 years, 3 months, and 1 day. So anybody that's telling you they clean, there's a period of time they wasn't, right? So all mood and mind-altering substances. There's no splitting hairs, no semantics. I mean clean. And the reason why I share that, I might be speaking to somebody who has a chemical dependency issue. I've spoken at churches, detoxes, rehabs, jails, done interventions, one-on-one. Family members call me, hey, say something, and I've spoken in front of thousands. I've spoken to an audience of 1. This guy, Roger Love, and Toastmaster said, whether it's 1 or 1,000, it's all public speaking. Once you speak out publicly. So I'm not reticent at all about sharing what I know and telling you where I got the information, because it's vetted, it's documented, you fact check it. Because all these things I'm sharing, I got it somewhere. I'll let you know who I got it from, where I got it from, what book, chapter, line, verse. Yeah, I'm that dude. You want to go line by line, chapter and verse with the Bible, the Quran, Stoicism, or Buddhism. Look, you want to go that way? We go that way. You want to talk about the street? Look, from the bricks to the boardroom. Again, you want to engage in more cerebral pursuits or whatever, we could sit down and we could, floss with the vocabulary as well. I have no area with that. Yeah, and I'm serious though. I was told I could talk as long as I want. So y'all gonna have to address all that, and you're gonna have to let people know how much time they have before they get on here, especially somebody like me, because I only touched on 1/10 of the things that I thought I was. And for the people that got out their beds and on here live or recording it later, they're gonna say he didn't say talk about this, and this. But you know what?
Real
talk.
He can talk as long as he wants. So
I can talk as long as your ears work. Yeah.
Look, we're gonna leave this running.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna leave them.
I'm only kidding. No, but listen. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm gonna be having lunch with my daughter, so I'm gonna get to that shortly. And at the end of the day, thank you so much for having me on. Thanks to the person that recommended me to you, because I don't know either of you personally. You know, but you, what's your name?
DJ.
For me? Oh,
yeah. Well, you know, I know your name.
On the screen is like
you. No, when I do this, I'm pointing at him. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. No, yeah. No, I know your name. I'm messing with you. At the end of the day, I don't know you personally. I have seen you, and you know, stop elbowing me in the ring. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah. He might. It was him. I know it was him. It was him. I'm gonna tell him when I see him off air when and where it was. But he elbowed me in the ring, and I'm a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. I don't follow astrology deeply, but there are some things that are true, and Scorpios are vindictive. I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna say how to do this.
Oh man.
I'm only half joking, but I did run into him in the ring, and literally run into him. Well, to be completely accurate, he ran into me. Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that right there.
Well, you hold on. We gotta get the particulars on that.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
Sign up for
We're gonna save that for another show, because I had to go to therapy and everything to stop.
Oh man.
For all the family who's listening in, we truly appreciate you tuning in, and we truly appreciate you spending your time with us. Definitely come back.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll send you some recommendations of other people who can contribute to the ongoing dialogue and conversation. And basically, when Frankie Beverly made that song, We Are One, we are one. And people don't realize every great thing has at its core many small things. So it takes all of us, for any of us to be anything here. And it takes the people who are negative. People need to enroll people in negativity. So there's some people that have to fill that role. But what we can use them for is an example of how not to be. And we have to do a better job of ostracizing them and making them feel uncomfortable and making them feel that that's not welcome and wanted. And that's a collective responsibility. And more on that when we go after dark.
I know that's
Oh,
right.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
We're going to talk about roller rink owner, operators, psychology of skating. And we're going to talk about that. The ostracizing and alienation of negatrons. Yeah, that's right. I said it.
That's a good
That's
one.
right. Listen, it's a good one.
So now y'all got another topic that we're going to have to connect after dark.
There we go. So listen, enjoy the rest of your day. And if nobody told you they love you today, you're hanging with the wrong people. You know, people need to hear that. The best way to, love someone is to show them. But people need to hear that. And I'm going to share this. The best kind of love is not that you love someone because you need them, but when you need them because you love them. Nobody can be them. Nobody can be a mirror. Nobody can be that guy. You know what I mean? So you get what I'm saying? You're going to be that guy. So when I say, hey, that guy, you better answer.
I'm trying to remember.
Don't try to remember. Because, listen, don't try to remember because I didn't forget. You're going to try to remember. Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. I don't have to try to remember. I remember.
Okay, so y'all watch out for the elbow of DJR Cole.
See, now I feel bad.
Don't feel bad. Feel good. It was professionally placed.
Oh, okay, cool then. All right, we good.
You did it. Look, you did it with style and aplomb. Yeah, look up that word, aplomb. You don't know what it means. APLOMB. That's right. I use words I can spell. I know what they mean in a proper vernacular and grammatically correct sentence. You look that one up, and that's your word. That's how you
look it up on Google.
You better, because it's gonna be a pop quiz on that. Did you look it up? And don't pull your phone out for cliff notes. No, anyway. So listen, have a great day. Yeah. And they say when there's laughter, there's life. So I'm gonna leave y'all living because y'all laughing. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hold the line.
All right. Fade to black. That's it. Look.
Eric.
Hold the line.
For us real quick.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. So for everyone who's tuning in, we greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. There actually was something that we did want to mention about one of our fellow skaters, Vito
Yes,
Lopez.
Tito Lopez.